How much cap space have the Knicks actually generated here?
Yeah, this is the conversation now after the trade. A lot of people ask the question, all right, well, what does this all mean? So let's try to explain it here. By moving the contracts of Tim Hardaway Jr. and Courtney Lee, it opens up, it takes $30 million off the payroll for next season. And coupled with the players who will be back, it's only 5 players on the contract, that gives you almost $75 million in practical cap space. Of course, there are cap holds and everything else, but in practical cap space that you can spend. Now, that is by far, as you can see here, the absolute most of any team that is going to have money to spend this summer. And they have 5 players, as I mentioned, under contract for next year, and that's Frank Ntilikina, Dennis Smith Jr., Kevin Knox, and Mitchell Robinson. They're the only ones with fully guaranteed contracts for next summer. Now, of course, you have this money. There is cap holds that they use. A lot of technicalities to this. That's why I said it's practical cap space that you can use, but you certainly have to do more than just sign 5 players. You have to make an entire roster out of that money.
So who's in play here? I'm told you came up with something called Generation K.
Why not? It worked out so well for the Mets, didn't it? But this is actually for this summer. This is what we're going to call it, Generation K. It's because everybody's name has a K in it, so it works. But here is what we're talking about when it comes to the players, the big names available this summer. If you're going to have cap space, this is the summer to have it. We begin, of course, with the biggest name in the game, and that is Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant is the biggest guy that you want to get in free agency, the 2-time NBA Finals MVP, the former MVP as well. He's been open about his intention to test the waters and said this time around he's not going to take a short-term deal like he did with Golden State. He wants his money, and it will cost the most, a max of $164 million over 4 years, a first-year salary of $38.1. Kawhi Leonard, another NBA Finals MVP, a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, forced to trade out of San Antonio. The Raptors made a gamble to get him. They think they can convince him to stay for a 5-year max of $189 million. The 4-year will cost $140 for everybody else, and the Clippers are the team that is hot on his trail right now. Klay Thompson, sharpshooting 3-time NBA champion. He might be the most likely to stay with his home team. Like Kawhi, he could get 5 years and $189 million from Golden State to stay in the backcourt with Steph Curry. But would he take a $49 million pay cut to go back home to LA, play for his father's old team, the Lakers, with LeBron? Keep an eye on that. And finally, the last K, Kyrie Irving, also due to get a 5-year, $189 million full max from Boston, or a 4-year, $140 from any other team. Now, Kyrie did say in October his plan was to re-sign with the Celtics, but on Friday he seemed to have a different tone when he said, "Ask me July 1st," and added, "I'm going to make a decision that's best for my family." And that's how it's going to go, as you saw him giving his jersey there on the Garden Court to his father, who is from the Bronx. They still live in this area. Now, Kyrie's going to be the linchpin, in my opinion, to all of this, because you got 2 major markets in the NBA in play here besides Boston. That would be New York and also be LA, because remember, he did have some reconciliation publicly with LeBron James recently, and there's some thought that maybe he'd be willing to give it another try with LeBron in LA. And New York is also a big part of this because of the connection. Obviously, his hometown, he is from Newark, his father's from the Bronx, and they do have this connection to street basketball, to New York City basketball, Rucker Park, Uncle Drew the movie. He and Kevin Durant together could be a huge package. It could be huge headlines, and major markets like New York and LA are involved.
What could be Plan B?
Well, Plan B, some people think, well, if you don't get these 4 guys, then what do? Do you go with the second tier and spend money on guys that might not be worth all that money? I'm saying no. I actually think there's another way to go here. Let's start with one name that is out there right now, and that is Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis is the guy that's already asked for a trade. He is currently under contract, and so you would absorb a contract like this into your cap space using some assets to make the trade. Davis said it's time to move on from the Pelicans. He went very public with that. The Lakers are in hot pursuit, and they're trying to get something done by February 7th, the trade deadline, this Thursday. So far, the first offer was reportedly underwhelming from the Lakers. Now, the Knicks can get aggressive if they want, but they might want to wait for the summer and see what happens, of course, with Generation K. They could have some assets to make a deal. Another name also, Damian Lillard. Now, he hasn't asked for a trade, but there's always been speculation about how long he'll stay in Portland. Trailblazers are 4th in the West right now. They are going to be aggressive at the trade deadline, but he's turning 28. He's got 2 years left on his contract, and if he's interested in making a move, the Knicks, again, will be in place if they don't use their money in free agency to absorb that salary as well. So things to keep an eye on in case the free agency part of this doesn't work out.
A lot of maybes. No such thing in the stat of the day.
Yeah, well, this is also now another part of the trade that not a lot of people are talking about. Along with the cap space, the Knicks added 2 first-round picks. That's very important. Now, it's the 2021 first-round pick from the Mavericks. That's unprotected. Doesn't matter where they finish. The 2023 pick has a top 10 protection in it. So you have those 2 first-round picks coupled with all the picks the Knicks have of their own. Over the next 5 years, the Knicks now have 7 first-round picks. And in today's NBA, as we know, that's serious currency.